Hello, good afternoon. We had this Women Empowerment in India session, and Ms. Chitra Desai, senior lawyer, Supreme Court of India, and currently a visiting faculty of SNDT Mumbai. She'll be chairing this event, this session. And I apologize for certain names which I had missed out during announcement. So it's also we have among us Susan Comfort, Managing Director of Pinkerton Healthcare Consulting, and Arundhati Segal, Head Corporate Communications, Escort Limited. So please, Chitra, you have to. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. When I read the topic women empowerment, and I felt, what is empowerment? We have nearly 45 enactments, legal enactments to empower women, starting from Constitution of India to the recently passed Sexual Harassment Act, which was passed in April. In spite of all the legal prescriptions and legal empowerment, we still feel weak. I don't want to take much of a time and start with the panel, but just to change the mood, I've written something when Nirbhaya case happened, and there was so much protest against it. Fortunately, middle class is coming forward to stand by their daughters today. That is one of the biggest difference which I see for the women empowerment. So it's a small poem which I wrote that time in that contest. छोटी थी तो जिद करती थी, छोटी थी तो जिद करती थी, फ्रॉक के लिए, खिलौनों के लिए, नानी की गोदी में सोने के लिए, छोटी थी तो जिद करती थी। थोड़ी और बड़ी हुई स्कूल के लिए, तख्ती कलम दवात के लिए, थोड़ी और बड़ी हुई, थोड़ी और बड़ी हुई तो नानी ने कहा जिद करना छोड़ दो, बड़ी हो गई हो, मैंने जिद करना छोड़ दिया। और धीरे धीरे मुझे पता ही नहीं चला कब मेरी ज़मीन पर दूसरों के गांव बसने लगे, छोटी थी तो जिद करने लगी। आज सुबह तुम्हारा आह्वान देखा तो मैंने बंद संदूक से अपने छोटे मन को भी निकाला, सहलाया, निकाला। अपने भी आह्वान में मेरा भी स्वर जोड़ दो, आओ निकलें, इस जिद्दी मन को फिर से जिद्दी बनाएं, आसमान में फैल जाएं और इतनी जिद करें कि सिर्फ घर ही नहीं नींव हिल जाए, आओ इतनी जिद करें। Over to Nirmala ji. She's a member of National Commission for Women, and I want her to start the empowerment. Thank you.
Here only, or that's it? Where would you like to? Yeah. May I thank NBI for inviting me for this very important panel discussion. I missed the earlier panel discussion. It was very interesting to hear the earlier speakers, though not fully. And one important point which the principal of, I think, Amity College was speaking, it was a very valid point that the lawmakers who are there in the attending parliament and legislatures, they require a lot of legal acumen to see that the laws which are legislated are fine-tuned properly, so that there is not much of scope of later on amendments and reviews and all that. And the lawyers get a lot of job in between because interpretation and the whole thing goes in the court of law, and then the judges ultimately, we leave it to the judge which way to take, because there's so much scope kept, and because of the ambiguity, looseness of the law, it becomes very difficult for the court to decide, and then whatever court decides becomes a verdict and then judgment. I don't know whether it is amount to justice or all, but normally the judgments come because the laws are a lot of scope for interpretation. Therefore, legal fraternity has got great role to play, and there should be so much of accuracy of law while drafting the legislations. And there is, I think, a lot of scope for lawyers to assist the government in, framing of the laws, etc. That's a very valid point. And nowadays, I think that a lot of interns are coming. When I was lawyer, there was nothing like interns. We are directly getting admissions in the college. Getting admission in the college was also not a big thing. and then becoming lawyer directly, a juniorship with 1 or 2 years, and then directly practice, like without practice swimming in the sea or something like that. But things have changed. Things are becoming very systematic now, and interns get a lot of exposure, and then they'll assist law clerks to the Supreme Court and judges. And also we have in commission a lot of interns who help us in doing our job. Things are changing. Law schools now, 1,000 schools in India is a very big thing. But in comparison to our Indian population, I think it doesn't matter much, lot of scope. And people are very, litigating, I wouldn't say litigating country, but there's so much, everybody fights for the rights. So it is very good that we fight for right, and the courts are flooded with litigations. And somebody rightly said that the government doesn't appoint judges. There are so many litigations and all that, and quick disposal is not there. And ultimately, what it concerns, that the poorest of a poor person cannot afford the intellectual and rich lawyers, and ultimately he or she is also equally entitled to get the best lawyer, the best justice system, which we are far off from that. And therefore, more lok adalats and justice for legal aid services for poor, middle class, and for women needs to be there. This is just what I felt. Now, speaking about women's empowerment, although I'm a lawyer, but nowadays, last 20 years, I'm not practicing much, but I have become a field worker more. And the entire world is like a university. Every time you learn from the common problems, common man, and all that. So I can speak about more from being not as a legal expert, but working in women's empowerment issues, which will be my approach. Like, I have not authored any book or anything, but because hardly we get time, whatever we experience, to put it in this one. But of course, that process is going on. Now we are going with acid attack survivors. Why the acid attack take place in India and Asia, and what are the reasons, what are the laws, compensation, everything, and the judgments. And second book, we are coming out with gender justice, means gender violence against women. And what is this gender? Many people don't understand what is gender. It's a feminine or masculine. But what gender means, how the patriarchal society affects the gender discrimination, etc. So we are trying to bring under one book, so that people who are interested in knowing all the related issues in one book, which will be easily available for a lay person, not for the expert, but a lay person, it will be very good in order to understand. Now, empowerment, according to me, to empower women, which shows that women are not empowered. When we talk about empowerment of women, show that we are still in the process of empowerment of women. When we say awakening, that means we are sleeping. When we talk about awakening, means we need awakening. It's a contradictory word, is we are not awakened. So this is exactly empowerment. Empowerment, what I mean, is a very large word. It could be economic empowerment, it could be social empowerment, it could be legal empowerment, it could be political, etc., etc. So empowering means bringing a woman at the center stage, and politically and empowering women to bring her where she can take decision, to involve a woman in decision-making process. That is empowerment as far as political empowerment is concerned. As you know that the framers of the law, women are not considered as, what she likes, what she wants, what is her problem. Decision-making, she is nowhere. And therefore, to bring her in the planning process, or the process of planning, to give her power. When you make a woman an MP, you empower her. When you make a woman a councillor and a MLA, you empower her. She becomes an elected representative. She represents the people. How much she delivers that apart. But this is called that bringing her in the process, a decision-making position. When we talk, when we empower a woman legally, we give her legal weapons to fight for a right. As Madam in her opening remarks said nicely, that so many acts have come after our independence, so many acts have come to empower her, to eliminate the gender discrimination. So this is legally empower her. It's up to her how to, she uses that empowerment. For example, when we legally empower a woman, that means Article 14 speaks about equality. Men and women equal before the law. Then we saw that we have more positive discrimination, that we have more, the weaker section. For example, women are treated as a weaker section. I don't know, I object always to that. But there is a special reservation for women. That means we presume that laws are there. They are on the book format, but actually in practice, if you see, we are far, and there's so much of distance between the practice and actual reality. So equality we require, that means the Constitution has empowered women by identifying them, they are equal citizens. They can vote like a man can vote. There's special reservation for women, baker class, and etc. in jobs, admissions in the schools, etc. Now, anti-dowry law. We have evil practice like women, if they want to get married, there is a violence. If the dowries are not given, they are burnt alive. Therefore, the legislations came to empower women that if anybody demands dowry, they can go to the court even prior to the marriage. Dowry doesn't mean that only at the time of marriage, but dowry has given a specific provision that even at the time of marriage, if she feels, she can go and complain to the dowry prohibition officer. Unfortunately, even in police authority, they don't know who is the dowry prohibition officer. Realities are very, very different than what it is mentioned in the law. We are achieving it. So, Dowry Prohibition Act. In 1983, we made so wonderful provisions and brought a lot of good amendments. Thanks to all the women movements that they brought. Mathura rape case was there. So, I'm sorry, I'll talking about this, about Manjushri Sharda case, the sudden death of a woman when she was found killed or burnt in suspicious circumstances. The parliament introduced laws and 304 was brought as dowry deaths. Previously we didn't have. Sati Pratha, there used to be women were put on the pyre in the name of customs and traditions, so we brought. This was to empower women that they cannot die a death in the name of wrong customs, wrong traditions, etc. This is nothing but violence. So legally, the government or the legislators or the administrators brought empowerment legally. Legally, they were empowered so that they can go to the court and prevent the violence against them. Thereafter, recently, if you see that 498A, I think is more than 25-30 years, mentally, physically causing violence to a married woman within 7 years of marriage, etc. She can go. There is a lot of hue and cry that that law is getting misused and all that. We always say which law doesn't get misused. Why only you are talking about laws relating to women only are getting misused? So that kind of argument, I can understand. Some women may misuse the law, but doesn't mean the law is bad. The police is to regulate which complaint to be taken, which complaint not to be taken, how to go for investigation, investigate the offense. If there is a cognizable offense, you arrest a person. So, but what is important that laws are in place. Thereafter, we can say sexual harassment at workplace. That law has also come recently. The law is not operative because rules are not framed. Rules are being framed. It will take some time. Before that, we are going on Vishakha judgments, Vishakha guidelines. If कार्य स्थल पे अगर महिला परेशान होती है, if there is a sexual harassment and work, this is also another way to empower women. That women have taken education, they have come, they are becoming breadwinner. It is a responsibility of every employer to see that the area is kept violence free. She should feel that she is working in a very gender-friendly environment. It's a duty of an employer. So Vishakha guidelines are there. Unfortunately, my experience that many of the firms, even if you can say Supreme Court, what is happening now in Supreme Court doesn't have. Supreme Court gives judgment for others. They give whole directions for the entire country. But look what is happening in Supreme Court. They themselves do not have sexual harassment committees. So this is the process which we must clean our own things and then give directions to others. It's a very good thing that they have now come out with 10 members panel and etc. etc. So sexual harassment committees in corporate sector, corporate, it's not there. Where the women will go, now things are changing because of recent things which are happening. Media is also bringing a lot of awareness and all that. So this is one thing. In government sector, हम इमेज बोलते हैं गवर्नमेंट में क्यों नहीं है गवर्नमेंट सडनली डज इट सो दैट दे वांट टू रिमेन अवे फ्रॉम दिस क्रिटिसिज्म एंड ऑल दैट बट रियली वीमेन डू गेट जस्टिस वेरी लेस ऑल दी मेन गैंग्ड अप टुगेदर एंड सी टू इट दैट विद अ सस्पिशन हाँ अच्छा इसने कुछ किया है ओके so that mindset needs to be changed. What is important, we are making laws, but the law is one thing, but changing mindset. For women empowerment, law cannot do anything, that you and me. We have to see that a mindset for empowerment of women needs to be brought by you and me, not the legislators and the politicians and the judges. Then I'll come to another 5 minutes I'll take. Anti-rape laws, recently drafted anti-rape laws now, widening of the sexual assault, because the rape law which was very old and the culprits have been treated by various other methods other than physical coitus and all that. Therefore, the law is changed. Now 326A and B, acid attack. There was only grievous hurt, but then when certain cases came, and it was noticed that a woman has been disfigured by throwing of the acid, specific act came, and section 326A and 326B. Then PCP ended, you know that the girl-child ratio is going day by day in our country. That shows that we are a patriarchal society. However, we are educated, we still like boy preference, the son preference country. So that is the whole thing is that women are secondary citizens. That's why we need empowerment by legislation. Now, there are so many changes and the doctors are being punished. If there is a sex selection in the name of abortion of a girl child, it is penal. But implementation is very, very poor. As a result of it, in spite of making the laws, the ratio of girl child is falling day by day. Government is spending money like anything to see that a girl's ratio is brought. In one of the, and in